All righty. All right, my friend. So we'll go ahead and get started. So, so um, thank you for joining us on this live broadcast of Black Spaces. It is it is a wonderful thing to be joined at the end of this week by my uh, wonderful co-host, the the Admiral Toya. I'm just the captain on this ship. She the admiral.
Okay, I'll take that.
So, so how things been treating you, my friend? How's life in general, and particularly with your career as a sci-fi scribe and author?
Life is good. I'm loving the abundance of riches. Last we were chatting, we were talking about June 2, and now
Mm-hmm.
we're here talking about Star Trek Discovery, and we got the accolade coming up. So we're just rolling in the bounty of goodness when it comes to science fiction and depiction of persons of color. So it's a good time.
Good time, good time. You know, with regards to Discovery in particular, I was trying to figure out how to find me a Michael Burnham poster. I was reminded by seeing the series
Mm-hmm.
that we were that we that that I have what I call my blue room upstairs,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would like to have a Michael Burnham poster from Star Trek Discovery accompany my T'Challa, um, poster with Chadwick Boseman as
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther. So anyway, that's just my
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out how to get that going. But
Right.
but if any fans got any recommendations, you can post it in whatever chat you're in. So we're here and just going to join you for a little while to discuss the Star Trek Discovery series. This is in its fifth season. This is its final season, and Toya and I have just been fan geeking out about it for a lot of reasons, not the least of which, as Black Spaces commentators, this this is all up in there in terms of Black sci-fi and Afrofuturism and Black presence in science fiction, which is very much a Star Trek, theme. So Toya, we're going to just give a spoiler alert to fans and say, hey, if you haven't seen up to episode 4, which just aired on April the 18th, then you might want to just go back and watch those episodes up to episode 4, and then come back and watch our review and our discussion with fans. Um, we want to also encourage you to subscribe to Black Spaces or to like wherever you are, whether we're broadcasting to you by way of our Facebook page or broadcasting on our YouTube Spaces. And so like and subscribe to help Black Spaces thrive. But Toya, what's your sort of general reaction of this season 5 up to episode 4 with Star Trek Discovery? What's your thoughts in terms of your general impressions?
I'm loving it. I know that the first time I saw the first episode, it really felt like a family homecoming,
Mm-hmm.
because we went I think a year or so between seasons. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is like going to the family reunion and you seeing, your sister and your brother-in-law, that's Michael and Booker, who, they try to work it out and
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't make it work, but he still is welcome to come to the cookout and give him a plate or two. And then you see your gay uncles and their boy who's just, well, I'm sorry, your gay uncle and their child who had just grown
Gunkel,
up, and you
Gunkel.
just so
Okay.
proud. Like last I saw you, you was this high, and
Uh-huh,
now
right, right.
look at you. I'm just so proud of you. And then you see all your cousin Tilly, who she went off to school, she got her degree, and
That's right.
she's trying to make it do what it do, but she's still good for a good time and having conversation. And so you see everyone in Saru, that awkward, gangly cousin that you didn't think was really ever going to come off his shell. And look at him. He went and got him a nice woman to marry, and y'all going to go off and have a nice job. And
Okay.
so I think that's what really made Discovery something I fell in love with, and one that I'm seeing reinforced in every episode is a sense of family. the sense of completion, the sense that you see these people operating in this area where they're doing all kind of spectacular things in the name of science fiction, but they're also taking time to build relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
also being able to acknowledge when there have been mistakes that have been made in the past that they're able to move on from. And then you have that uncle that got kicked out of the house by his wife, and now he's sleeping on your mama's couch, and that would be Rainer, and how,
Oh, you're
y'all
taking us
looking
there.
at
You're
him,
taking us there.
and you like, he's coming here and he got a whole bunch of air in his chest, and you like, you need to sit down. You in our house, be polite, but he's still coming around. So I really am vested in seeing what's going to happen. I'm sort of regretful that this is the last season, but I'm happy to see all the storylines that we fell in love with are coming to fruition. And even though we're now on episode 4 with all the adventures that we've seen, there's still a ways to go. So I'm really enjoying. I'm really plugged in.
Right. To me, it's interesting. To your point, it's really interesting that they're doing. So again, we're going to say spoiler alert. If you haven't seen up to episode 4 of Star Trek Discovery season 5, go ahead and do that. But to me, it's interesting that they're doing this time travel episode early in the season, right? Where effectively they're doing a sort of retrospective on Michael Burnham and the journey of the crew at episode 4. So we're going to have a 10-season arc, but again, not even halfway. We're doing sort of this retrospective think through where we are. And yeah, and it reminds me that Michael Burnham of season 1 is a dramatically different individual. I mean, they're hundreds of years into the future in terms of the timeline, and what happened with the Red Directive, and what happened with the Red Angel, and what happened with the Spore Drive, and the cataclysmic stuff that happened. That got Booker and others into trouble because of his intervention. I mean, there's a lot that's done happen, but she's looking back on herself. As a captain, she's more at ease. She's more confident. She's actually more compassionate, a more likable individual than that gruff mutineer that joined us in season 1, right? Or season 1 into season 2. And so, and what I find interesting is that now that Raynor has become her second in command, who is a diametrically opposite individual from Saru. Saru is this, gentle, elegant, thoughtful, wise until you piss him off. But don't have them tendrils.
Right, exactly.
But if you don't piss him off, gentle. I mean, just sort of likable, compassionate individual. And here Raynor is this gruff, scruffy, insubordinate individual. And to me, early in episode 4, he like becomes the dude who's trying to mansplain to the captain.
Exactly.
He ain't running her ship properly. Like, excuse me. I saw. If you don't mind me saying it, Toya, I saw the sister thing. What?
Right. We gather you quickly.
Right.
But we're not going to argue in front of my crew. So let us go to my ready room where I'm going to tell you what you're not going to do up in this here. You ain't talking all kind of slick to my people. No.
Right. Right. So, but now it also, the episode also does a typically Star Trek thing, in this whole question of this technology with the progenitors. But it does a very Star Trek thing in that it introduces conflict. It introduces real world conflict, right? Because we're going through real world times where folk are challenging, why should we have a certain person as the leader? Why should this person of color or this woman of color be in leadership? Why, we won't get into all the politics. Don't get me started. But why do we have them in this corporate or political or in this case military leadership? And so, but the Star Trek thing that I think is very consistent with Gene Roddenberry's vision is we don't leave you into conflict. We're gonna find a way. And so Star Trek always gets to the human element.
Right.
It always says, why the heck are you so stuck on these hierarchies and these differences and da 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 da? Because humanity, or in this case, Starfleet, meaning sentient life, is in the balance, is at risk if you don't get your stuff together.
Right.
And so it's kind of interesting, maybe, and people can critique with that's whether a good thing or bad thing, but it's very Gene Roddenberry thing to say. We have a larger problem as humanity. We can't afford these family, what Roddenberry would probably say are family squabbles. We got to, elevate people because of their leadership, not because of their, not because of their gender or race. Da 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 da. We've got to, provide answers that connects us to these broader questions of the cosmos. So anyway, I won't go on. Pardon me. I'm getting into to geeking out too much, but yeah, to me, it's interesting that they don't leave the tension there. It probably gonna return to it, Toya, between Rayner and Michael Burnham, but they don't leave it there. Right. So, what do you think? So you and I, in previous episodes of Black Spaces, y'all go check them out. They're absolutely brilliant. Off the chain.
Yes, I agree.
Let's Fly. Check out that episode as well as our other episodes. But what do you think is coming about relative to this romantic relationship between Burnham and Booker? So where do you think that's going, at least based on what we know thus far?
I want to say that I don't think they're going to reconcile. I don't think they're going to be the couple that were portrayed as like the romantic love. I think it's going to go back to when we initially met Booker, when they were, couriers. And they had that shorthand where they could run and make those deliveries, and they didn't have to really have full conversation. I think that we're going to see them come to an understanding where they can be in each other's lives, but still allow each other to be authentic to what they need to do. He's going to be able to allow her to be the captain of Discovery, and she's going to allow him and support him in what he's doing for the Federation and trying to work with people that have been displaced. I think they're going to be a good example that you don't have to be in a romantic relationship to be with your soulmate. You can be with your soulmate by doing the things which are authentic to you and being supportive of someone else.
Yeah. It seems like they're at that phase of, and I won't use the specific sort of Broadway reference because the Broadway would say boy meets girl, girl meets da da da. But they're at that partner meets partner part of the relationship, and then partner falls out part of the relationship, right?
Right.
I think it would be, I don't think they should do just a straight reconciliation.
Right.
You can't. She's a Starfleet captain. She's among the most, respected, if not the most respected Starfleet captains in this 32nd, century future that everybody knows saved the Federation, right? And so she can't just sort of by dint of her position sort of be in love with this guy who, effectively was a traitor, right?
Right.
Or without any sort of, hashing out, and some reconciliation of what he did, what he did something out of anger and pain and vengeance to the destruction of his world, to his beautiful world, right? So it's not that Booker's a very sympathetic character, but you're like, no, you did something that's not consistent with Starfleet's ethics. So, so I agree with you. I don't think you should just have a straight line reconciliation, but I would hate we get to episode 10 and they're like, shake hands. I don't know. Black love in the future.
Right.
Something that would say, even if we're still struggling with each other, love is a struggle. It'll be a struggle. It's a struggle now, and it'll be a struggle, 1,000 years in the future. So, maybe something that conveys that. We'll see. We'll see. What else do you find intriguing up to this point? Whether it be Stamets, whether it be the Doctor, I'll just say this. that I'll throw this out. If you look at the long timeline, or I should, of the long sort of filmology, am I using that word right? Probably not. Film stuff and TV stuff of Star Trek. There was the what was it? The Journey Home. What was that episode? I think it's The Voyage Home. Do you? It was that 1986 Star Trek episode or Star Trek film where they journey to the center of the galaxy and meet God.
Oh, I think I missed that one.
Okay, all right. Now that is generally panned. Well, I know I panned it as, what the hell? It was not well done. And unfortunately, that was an episode, fans, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. That was an episode that William Shatner directed.
I'm not surprised then. That's not where that man's strength lies.
No. But I looked at that because I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm like, that was hokey as hell. I mean, it was just not. It was fun, but it was
right.
Like, it wasn't well written. It wasn't well written, even though you got, legendary talented, Leonard Nimoy and other folk, George Takei and other folk, Nichelle Nichols and other folk. It just wasn't well done. So to me, it's interesting that this whole discussion now of the progenitors is kind of sort of resolving that ugly episode, because that episode also was about this idea of the God complex and going to the end of the universe or the galaxy and figuring out what is this, this essential thing that has made the universe. And to me, it's interesting now that they bring in these progenitors who are, at least by the understanding of this time part in the Federation in Star Trek, are the creators of life, right? And that's why the villains at this point, them getting this Romulan technology is the big threat, because it is the essential components of life. So to me, I don't know if the showrunners and producers of Discovery went back and said, we're going to correct that episode of the film. But it's kind of what it's doing in some ways, in my view. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good idea, hindsight, and you have the mythology to support whatever you want to do going forward. Why not correct your past mistakes and missteps when you have the capacity to pull in, at this point, so many threads, because so much has happened since that episode to now that you can weave in what kind of narrative you want to weave in, because if all it fails, you can reference another Star Trek Federation ship that went and discovered this, or another world that was mentioned in the 1967 original episode that they went untouched on one time. And hey, now we're going back to this planet again because we left something. So yeah, I think it's good that if that was the intent, that they're trying to do a great do-over to sort of smooth the path down.
Okay. All right. So let's maybe get into a little bit of what is we've been doing a little bit of what we call our unique critique, but maybe let's get a little deeper into this unique critique that you can only get on Black Spaces. So that's why you gotta, subscribe, like and subscribe. And again, hello to all of our fans, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on our YouTube channel. So, what do you think this Star Trek Discovery is doing, not just for Star Trek lore, but for science fiction and Black presences and voices in science fiction overall? What if particularly given that even given as progressive as Star Trek has always been, it took this character of Michael Burnham for there to be the first African-American woman of color, and then of course Michelle Yeoh, woman of color, to command a starship as the main, and they've had admirals. Let me not get this wrong. They've had admirals and other individuals who were women, who were women of color, of various, in various command positions in Starfleet. But the principal character, the lead character of a series being an African American woman. What do you think this is doing for Black presences in science fiction overall?
I think it's really solidifying the fact that you don't have to leave your Blackness at the door to do tremendous things. I think one thing that really has been paramount, and they sort of did like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge in this episode, is that Michael is going to keep a hairstyle. If she don't do anything else, she don't keep a hairstyle. And the fact that when we saw her like a few minutes prior, she had the low cut. Now she's coming up with the braids, and that's tight. And even Tilly was like, I don't know what you've done, but it looks good.
Right.
I think that what this episode did, as far as her confronting herself, and that the aspect that, and I'm gonna just make it personal, we as Black women, we often self-doubt and that we can achieve. And the fact that Michael from the future had to tell Michael in the proverbial present, you got this. You may be in a low position now. You may see yourself in such a narrow gaze. You may be so afraid to claim your greatness.
Right.
And yeah, it's not going to be easy, but you have within you to get to this point that you're a commander of a ship that, not demands, but receives respect from whoever crosses your path. Right. I think that this portrayal of Michael Burnham, I think throughout the series, her interaction with her parents, with her mother especially.
That's right.
Of course, her interaction with Booker, where you had two Black people have a relationship where it was mutual respect and that there was a true partnership. I think that when she interacted with people, not only on her ship, but also when she was in the meetings with other members of the Federation, people that were the president, that she was able to be her authentic self in the room. She didn't have to check her identity at the door. And I think what that does is that sort of cements the fact that you don't have to divide yourself in so many pieces to be the authentic person. You can be who you are fully.
Right.
If that means that you're going to have the braids, rock the braids. If you want to do like the updo, rock the updo. With no matter how you're choosing to wear your hair, as soon as you put on that red jacket and as soon as you sit in that chair and you say, let's fly, that's what you're doing in terms of being in command of the situation.
Yeah. I am intrigued and fully agree with your point about sort of these important signifiers of Blackness, 1,000 years in the future, right? And so because you can, and this goes all the way back to this episode with Avery Brooks and Captain Benjamin Sisko as part of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. What I think is one of the most poignant episodes of science fiction ever, let alone when Star Trek, Far Beyond the Stars, where he's trying to imagine, it's the alter ego or avatar of Ben Sisko, who's transported back into the 1950s to write as a Black science fiction writer. And they kept saying, well, we can't imagine this idea of a starship captain, a 400 year, no Negro could possibly. First of all, white audiences won't accept this premise, in the 1950s of a Black or a Negro, as they would say, starship captain. And so the guy, sort of Benny Russell is his character. He keeps confronting this idea of, but I'm still dreaming this idea that in fact you can see Blackness in the future. And so to me, where this Deep Space Nine kind of left it there, Discovery is taking it further, right? And literally visualizing Blackness in the future in sort of some key ways. Whereas Avery Brooks, sported sort of the bald cut, which was Afrocentric and still is in the 90s, sort of the Isaac Hayes look. I'm dating myself. Isaac Hayes, Black Power, so but had other sort of small signifiers or important signifiers: Black baseball, food, culture, Afrocentric styles, fashion styles. You know, the Star Trek Discovery does it by way of these signifiers we would recognize, which is now sort of the modern Black crowns, the hair, right? Mm-hmm. And the ways in which and there ain't just one Black character, the captain, but there's multiple Black characters, at least by our reckoning,
right?
How visualize notions, on the bridge, right? And everybody's got a different do, signifying the different ways in which Black folk we present ourselves these days, and do it in a way that and to me, again, going back to your point about Tilly, that Tilly says, "I like your hair," and the fact that they don't just sort of gloss over the point, but they kind of stop and make note of the point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting when she's fully into herself. She is sporting this design from the motherland, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you fully know who you are, you're sporting this design from the motherland. But this episode also kind of projects, episode 4 of the current season also projects this notion of double consciousness, right?
True.
Which is since Du Bois, a time-honored trope in blackness and Black science fiction of being able to look upon myself, but being sometimes drawn or twisted in looking in understanding who I am and being able to reconcile these two parts. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm nerding out and getting a little. I'm giving African American studies course. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be talking about.
It all ties together. It all ties
together somehow. Yeah, but again, I think it's really kind of powerful in this regard. So where do you think they're going to take this from here? Where do you think they're going to take it from here?
I don't know, because when we close out the episode, they're on their way to the next clue.
Right.
And I don't think that we really got a lot of details about where that is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the confrontation, when it happens, is going to be very powerful. I think it's going to continue on the path of healing, because like it was revealed that one of the villains, and I put villains in quotes, is connected to Booker.
Okay.
So I think that's going to challenge him and challenge the crew. Is like, how do we see villains? How do we take into consideration the steps in their lives that led them to be at this place? So I think it's going to continue on that the members of the crew, Michael is going to really have to look internally to see what they're made out of. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to give us as viewers the example to see the continued impression of being able to have relationships that you build with others to work together to overcome any obstacle. Sometimes you're going to stumble, but the key is that you don't fall.
Right.
And if you do stumble, there's many hands to keep you going. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about, what new adventures lie ahead. And of course, with every episode that brings us closer to the end. So I'm not liking that. I know, but it's going to be a really nice ride. I would have been hesitant to think when we first started looking at this way long ago that we would get at this point and all the different directions that the characters have went in. Who would imagine all the stuff that Michael would have experienced? When we first met her, literally making a decision that caused so much chaos and confusion that rippled out into a war that she had to, become the Red Angel to reconcile in a way. So it's going to be a nice ride. I'm looking forward to enjoying it.
I agree. Where they're positioning Saru as this diplomat for a reason. Do you have any suspicions as to what? Do you have any hints as to why he's going to play a critical role as a diplomat, or is that still an open question mark?
I think it's an open question. I think that when we were looking at the previous season, that we had the opportunity to get to know Saru and the other Kelpians and how they had lived under the thumb of that other race of people, and when they
Right.
finally found their freedom,
That's right.
then as a diplomat, he can bring that experience of negotiating with different worlds. So I think that even though he's not on the bridge, I still see that he's going to be Michael's number one when it really comes down to it, in ways that he will be uniquely able to give her in terms of his experience, his insight. You know, push come to shove, you know, he may have the gangler stand up and throw some quills for her defense. One never knows.
Yep.
So I'm excited seeing, you know, what's going to happen.
Yeah, and there's all these other relationships. You know, we've chatted for 30 minutes, and yet there are all these other relationships in Star Trek or in Discovery. But when I think about it, that's a very Star Trek thing. And even though the original 1966 show seems, you know, I still love the 1966 show, but it's very rooted in the 1960s. But you can think of that relationship between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, right, and the tension between McCoy and Spock. So it's always, Star Trek lore has always been about the human relationships, even given that it is among the major sci-fi genres or series. It is the most sort of deep science fiction, hard science fiction. Because there's times I got to go back and like, okay, it's been a while since I've studied the astrophysics. Let me remember. Right. Is that working? You know, and it's always got to be some relatively plausible. You know, it's a fantastical, but still rooted in science fiction or in science theory. You know, plausibility that they're talking about. Even though I know, sometimes I listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he can do a critique about anything that is exceeding the boundaries of actual laws of the universe. But Star Trek endeavors to be the most science fiction-y or hard science fiction show of most of these sort of major shows. Right. So even given that, that is still always secondary to the human relationships or the relationships between the characters, and so it's gonna be a fun ride. So what do you recommend, Toya? You recommend we kind of do a few more episodes, and then you want to wait to the end, or you want us to do halfway through, maybe episode 7 or 8 or so, and then revisit, and then do, what do you think we should do to revisit Star Trek Discovery before the very end?
I think let's reconvene around episode 8.
Okay.
Because that gives us enough of an indication what the final is going to be, but not take us right to the edge. It's going to give us enough of a peek to sort of speculate, but not enough to make a firm opinion. Okay. And then we can definitely come together at the end to sort of look and see how they tied up all the loose ends.
Okay. All right. So fans, if you haven't watched it up to this point, you got time to get yourself together. You can sit down one Saturday and binge watch it, so you can join us and be able to post your comments. But yeah, we'll do that. And so, of course, we got a lot of other good sci-fi coming up this summer. Planet of the Apes coming up soon. Yes. I haven't gotten into the 3-body problem. It is deep. Deep. I got into 15 minutes. I said, "Oh man, better go sit down and get a glass of wine and unpack this," because I haven't read the book, and so I sure enough haven't watched the show. But we'll do several other things. You can go back also, fans, to look at our Dune critique. Yes. Toya, we got quite a few views about our Dune critique. But we also got a few folk who disagreed with us.
I was unaware. I'm going to have to go back and see.
Yeah, they disagreed. And part of it was, with our Dune critique, folk didn't actually watch the show. They just watched that provocative title I put up there.
See.
I'm like, go back and watch what we said, good folk. I love fan interaction, but what we were actually doing was trying to, illuminate the white savior myth. Not say that Dune had, Anyway, I'm not gonna fight that battle. Don't fight with your fans. That's the first rule. Don't fight with your fans. You'll lose them. But yeah, anyway, we always like this wonderful exchange. So anyway, thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Toya. I'm sorry, Toya.
You got another host and didn't even tell me. Well, I guess was it Tanya is another host?
Say what?
So you said another host, Tanya. You didn't even tell me.
It's like, hey, didn't even send me the notice.
Right.
Yes, I just insulted the admiral. I'm gonna probably get my pink slip. So, but thank you so much for joining again, Toya, as you know, as a wonderful co-pilot on this journey. So again, fans, please like and subscribe to Black Spaces. And if you have interest in future topics, you can post here or post either on our Facebook page. You can certainly look for Black Spaces and join us there. We also have another space called Black Futures, which is open, whereas Black Spaces is by invitation. Black Futures is for all, and it covers sort of the gamut of not just sort of science fiction, film and TV, but also images, books, the whole wide gamut. So feel free to search for Black Futures and join us there. So again, thanks. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again. And as we say in Black Spaces, or as I say, because I'm old, what do I say, Toya? What's my ending? Oh, Lord, it's been a long week. Catch you on the backside, catch you on the black side, and in the future. All right. Thanks now.
All right. Bye.